Mr. President, I've been coming to the floor every week for quite some time talking about an epidemic that we all have to fight through, and that's the epidemic of opiates, drug abuse. And this is prescription legal drug abuse. We've come to a crisis in our country. I think that we have realized that, both Democrats and Republicans. This is not a partisan issue. It doesn't pick sides. It doesn't choose whether you're rich or poor, what race you may be, what religion you may practice. It basically attacks everybody. In 2014, 18,893 people died to prescription opiate overdose. That's an average of 51 people every day. We're talking about legal prescription drugs. These are made by pharmaceutical companies, which we depend on to make products that are needed for quality of life. They're also approved by the Food and Drug Administration. And basically, the Food and Drug Administration is responsible making sure that the products we consume are safe. And then they're prescribed to us by the most trusted person next to our family member, which is a doctor. So when you think about it, how could something that's been approved by so many reputable people and institutions do so much harm and us not react to it? That's the hard thing I have to imagine. I can't say, you know what, I don't think it was anybody's intent, but it is what it is. And we've got an epidemic, a full-blown epidemic. Over 200,000 people have died since 1999. And we talk about Zika, we talk about Ebola. We were concerned about all these horrific illnesses that can attack a human being. And we've got one right in front of us. It's a silent killer we're not doing anything about. 16% of the people died in 2014, more so than died in 2013. We have to take action to stop the epidemic. And it can only happen right here in the halls of Congress, in the Senate, and our counterparts on the other side of this great capital of ours. Unfortunately, a major barrier that those suffering opiate addiction face is insufficient access to substance abuse treatment. I spoke to my cousin, to Michael Alloy, who is a federal magistrate judge. Michael and I were talking. He said, Joe, let me just tell you the sad scenario. He says, I have to sentence many people for the wrong they've done and the crimes they've committed. I've never once had anyone stand and say, Judge, I'm sorry, you can't sentence them to a jail sentence because we have no more jails. No more jails. He said, I've never been turned down. We've always found a jail cell or a bed to imprison somebody. We've never lacked for that. He said, but so many times I've tried to place a person in treatment that I know needed treatment. Their family wanted them. They wanted to change their life. And guess what I've been told? I'm sorry, we have no place to put them. No place. If you're a parent, the only thing you can do as a parent, Mr. President, and I know Nebraska is the same as West Virginia, isn't this an awful situation we're in America that you have to have hope that your child gets arrested and convicted and maybe then can be sentenced to drug court to maybe get a chance in life? It's a sad scenario in this great country of ours that we can't save this generation. And it's of epidemic proportion from this standpoint. I don't think there's a person that I know of in my state or anyone I've ever met in my travels in America that doesn't know someone in their immediate family, extended family, or close friend that's not been affected by drug abuse. It's of epidemic proportion. And I say it's a silent killer because we keep our mouths shut. We're afraid if it's our child, we don't want anybody to know it'd be embarrassing. If it's our mother or father, if it's an aunt or an uncle, brother or sister, we'll take care of that. We don't want anybody to know about it. Well, guess what? You got a full-blown epidemic that's killing your brothers and killing your sisters and your children and your aunts and your uncles and your moms or dads. And then we say, why don't we say something? So this is what we're dealing with, and this is something that we intended to fight. I'm going to give you an example of how hard it is to get treatment. In 2014, in my state of West Virginia, the beautiful state of West Virginia, 42,000 West Virginians, including 4,000 children, sought treatment for illegal abuse, illegal drug abuse, but failed to receive it. The largest long-term facility in West Virginia with more than 100 beds is a Recovery Point of Huntington. It's run, and one of the most successful places we have, it's run by all recovering addicts. Every one of them was a recovering addict. They know exactly every excuse, every type of diversion that you will give them. They've had everything thrown at them. They know it all. But this group has been the best at having success ratios and putting people back in productive lives. They only have 100 beds, and they have a 4 to 6 months long waiting list. Unbelievable. In 2014, about 15,000 West Virginians received some form of drug or alcohol abuse treatment. That's 15,000 received it. Guess what? There was another 60,000 that went untreated. 60,000, no treatments at all. Based on my conversation with all police departments, and I would say that all of us, 100 senators in this room, Democrats and Republicans, can talk to their law enforcement, and I'll assure you that they'll tell you 8 out of 10, at least 8 out of 10, of the calls that they're called to for any type of disturbance, any type of criminal activity, is caused by drugs. Almost 80% are drug-driven. And we say that we can't afford it, so we don't find any cost. We can't find the money to pay for treatment centers. Well, let me tell you, Mr. President, I have a bill which is called the Lifeboat Act. It's bipartisan. We hope it's bipartisan. We're asking for all the help we can get, and here's really what it does. It's truly designated to fund treatment centers. What we're asking for is 1 penny per milligram of every opiate product produced and distributed in America. 1 penny per milligram. That 1 penny will give us $1.5 to $2 billion a year. Can you believe that? $1.5 to $2 billion from 1 penny per milligram. You can imagine the enormity of what we're consuming. When you think of a country less than 5% of the world population that consumes anywhere from 80 to 90% of all the opiate products produced in the world. How can we become so addictive? How are we so pain intolerant that we have to have these powerful addictive drugs? What happened to us? So with all that being said, we have to first of all treat addiction as an illness. I'm as guilty as anybody that's been in politics or the political life or making policy for any period of time, 20 years or more. I'm as guilty as they are, thinking at first, boy, if you're fooling with drugs, you're committing a crime, we're putting you in jail. Well, guess what? We filled the jails up. And they get out, and they're no better off than they were when we put them in. They haven't been relieved of their addiction. They haven't been cured of their addiction. They haven't even been treated for their addiction. We just stopped by throwing them in prison or in a jail cell to take care of it. We've come to our senses now and found out addiction is an illness. Any other illness you might have, you're going to find treatment for. There's treatment to take care of you if you're ill, whatever it may be. Sorry, but not for opiates. Not for drug addiction, we can't. We just don't have the money to do it. So I've said, you know, we charge a fee for cigarettes. We know cigarettes is dangerous to you. It's not healthy for you. It'll kill you. We know that. It's put right on the packs when you buy any tobacco products. And you pay a tax or a fee. You can call it anything you want to call it. You pay. Alcohol. You buy alcohol. You pay a fee, a tax, or anything else that you want to put to that. But by golly, if we talk about, oh my goodness, we need 1 penny per milligram to start providing treatment for people that are addictive, that we can put them back into productive life, oh my goodness. I'm not voting for any taxes. I can't vote for tax increase. I'm not voting for any of these things. Well, can't you vote for a treatment for your child, for your grandchild, for your neighbor? Can't you save a society that we're losing? Can't you see that 8 out of 10 of our crimes are committed by people that are drug-induced? So if you're concerning about the economy, if you're concerning about the well-being and welfare of this country, can't you do something responsible and not worried about going out and defending yourself? I voted for 1. Yeah, I'll be happy to tell you I voted for a penny. You want to call that a tax? And I'm pretty austere about that. When I was governor, I always said I was very financially responsible, fiscally responsible, socially compassionate. This is just common sense. You've got to find a way to fund it. So that's what we've asked for. So the Lifeboat Act is something that I'm hoping that every one of my colleagues will take a good hard look at it. And don't look at it as a tax or a fee. Look at it as a treatment plan that helps get Americans straight again. Help us get it back into production. So we've talked about the silent killer. This is a silent killer because no one talks about it. Well, guess what? Since I've been coming to the floor, people have been sending me letters. They said, please, we want you to read our letter. I want you to know about my son, my grandson, my child, husband, my wife, my mother, my father. So I'm going to read Stephanie Sowell's story. Stephanie put her name to this, and she wanted me to read this for you. She says, I applaud and thank you for your efforts helping those with addiction. My son, Tommy Sowell, died of an accidental overdose of heroin mixed with fentanyl and acetylfentanyl on February the 13th, 2016, at the age of 24. I'm quite sure he did not know the drug contained fentanyl and acetylfentanyl. He developed a hernia during 9th grade, 14 years old. He developed a hernia and had surgery, after which the doctor prescribed Oxycontin, knowing it was addictive, knowing that it basically has been overprescribed and caused many overdoses. I now believe this is where this story of addiction began with my son, Tommy. He did not want nor choose to be addicted. He held a high GPA throughout school and graduated from South Harrison High School. He willingly helped his dad in the hayfield from a young age every year. He loved his family. He wanted and needed to work and be productive. He wanted to go to college from a very young age, but the lure of the oil and gas industry, which was booming in West Virginia at that time, basically won him over for its high pay. However, those jobs disappeared very quickly with the glut of basically the natural gas industry and all the energy that's come on in this country. So he began to spiral down. And with no job prospects to speak of here, but not wanting to leave West Virginia and his family, he instead turned to more drugs to deal with and cope with a feeling of loss and being non-productive. His dad and I found him. He died alone, which makes me even sadder to know. Tommy was a good boy, a wonderful son, and he lit up our world with laughter and joy. He was loving, respectful, kind-hearted, and full of fun. I know in my heart Tommy would have overcome this and gone on to do wonderful things if he had just had a chance. We are heartbroken, and we will be forever heartbroken. Saturday, June 11th, would have been Tommy's 25th birthday, this past June 11th. And she says, if this letter helps you in any way, please feel free to use it. It would bring a bit of peace to us to know that his story will help others. This is the hidden secret. This is basically the hidden killer that we're talking about. But when you have Stephanie and the parents and grandparents willing to speak up now and said, put a face with it, put a boy or a young girl coming out of a neighborhood who we had high hopes for, and they were snuffed out. This is what they want us to share. This is what they're asking us to take up and do, and to provide the treatment that can help them save the lives of their children and the lives of a generation of Americans. Mr. President, I thank you, and I yield the floor.